Thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association. This is one of over 100 episodes where we feature knowledgeable people in the community that could discuss real issues that concern the taxpayer and the voter. And so this is no exception, and we're really proud to have our sheriff, Rick DiBasilio, as our guest. Rick, welcome.
Thank you, Al. Glad to be here.
Now, you've been sheriff how long now?
It's just over 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Wow. It seemed like you were here forever.
Well, I've been here forever, but I've just been the sheriff for 4 years. June of 16 is when they appointed me the first time.
Wow. And over the last 4 years, do you remember any particular things that were challenging or particularly satisfying that you got involved with?
Well, being with the department, it gave me a lot of insight to what was going on within the department and within the county. Years ago, back in the late 70s, I was actually in the fire department. So I had a feel of what was going on with the community. Working on the streets, working with Angels PD and the CHP, and again, the fire department. It gave me a good inner working of what was going on. So when I became the sheriff, I was able to help those relationships along. So that was one of the more beneficial things that I felt, that because I know some of our relationships with some of those other departments struggled a little bit, and I think that with my time in the community, I was able to repair a lot of those. So that was a very good highlight over the past 4 years, is really building those relationships and making them a lot stronger.
It seems like communication skills is a very valuable thing to have if you're in law enforcement.
It is. It's very important. If you can't talk to people, you're going to have a problem. You definitely need to be able to talk, and you need to be able to, I don't want to use the word compromise, but you need to be able to work with people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, the old adage, there's your way, there's my way, and then there's the right way.
Right.
Well, it's a matter of getting all those three units together and finding a way so that everybody can work together and everybody's happy.
When I was in Toastmasters, one thing I learned, which seemed to be the most important, is to learn how to listen. And speaking is okay, but you cannot speak effectively if you can't listen.
My wife tells me that all the time.
My wife also is in Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a number of items here. We've got a full plate for this little show. The first one is cannabis. And we've had some new developments there. I think we've banned one kind of cannabis, and another one is regulated. And what's up to date on that?
Well, just for a quick recap for those that don't know, back in 2016 we had cannabis become legal in the county, and then in 2018 it became illegal again. Prop 64 came into play to where anybody could grow up to 6 plants for their own personal use, and with that came the legalization again in our county, or that was the illegal side of it at that point, but you could grow your 6 plants. And then we had a new board come into play, and they turned things around, and now we have legal cannabis. They can grow up to 1 acre. There's a lot of parameters on where they can and where they can't grow. They've kept it out of the residential areas, which is a great thing. Like the Bar 20, the Diamond 20, all those 20-acre ranches, M24 ranches, they cannot grow in those areas, which was where we were having a lot of our problems back in 2016. So the board and the sheriff's office and their cannabis control department have worked diligently together to put, I think, a very good program together that I think will work for the cannabis growers and for law enforcement. There was the new Measure G that was just passed at this last election, and that's a good thing. I believe that it's going to give the growers, it's twofold, because now the county knows that we have this many grows and we're going to get this much money every year. Doesn't matter if they grow 1 plant or they grow 300 plants. This is how much money the county's going to get. The benefit for the growers is if they have a very high yield year, they're going to make some extra money because they're not paying by the pound or by the flower or whatever the case may be. So I think it'll benefit both the county and the growers as a whole. I think it's going to benefit the community in the sense that they won't be growing in those residential areas. My marijuana team has been very active this year. I brought some stats. This is as of Friday of last week. They've done 75 eradications this year. They've had, they pulled 2 BHO labs, which are hash labs. They've pulled almost 38,000 plants out of the ground.
What's hash?
Hash is concentrated cannabis, is what it is. Last year, we had about 85,000 plants pulled, and this year again we're at about 38,000. So there's a big difference. So what that's telling us in law enforcement is, and for Calaveras County, is that people are starting to realize that, hey, if we go to Calaveras County, we may lose our plants. So we're not seeing the amount of grows out there that we did back in 2016.
How does that compare to legal growing?
Well, I don't count the legal grows. That's through the cannabis department.
No, I mean, is 1/3 of the? Is it half the?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, the way the county is set up right now is they can have, I think it was up to, call it 190 growers. Right now, they're, again, just getting the ball rolling,
right.
And I think we have about, and don't quote me on this, but I think we're about 95 registered growers, so
right.
we still have some more to go. So we took down 75 illegal grows,
right.
And there's probably still another 100 to 150 and possibly more out there. There's still a lot of illegal grows, but again, the plant counts aren't like they were, because when we did the grows last year when things were illegal, we were pulling 2,000-3,000 plants out of the ground, and now we might get a couple hundred, 200 or 300 plants. So they're gearing down, so to speak. They're not having these big, massive grows thinking that they're still going to get under the radar. But my guys are pretty diligent, so we've been able to pull a lot of plants still. We pulled, last year we had 3,300 pounds of processed marijuana, and this year we have about 2,100 pounds of processed marijuana. So again, a little bit of a drop, but again, I think that's because people aren't growing as much.
And that's beyond hash.
That's the buds.
Okay.
That's the green buds that's
okay.
what we call processed, is the green bud.
In terms of product, say that Calaveras County produces 100 tons of product. How many tons of that is illegal, and how many tons of that would be legal?
Oh, I couldn't give you an answer on that. I don't know, because we haven't had a yield of legal grows yet.
Right.
And then that'll come next year when they'll have some this year, because we only had some growers that were completely up and running to grow.
Right.
Ask me that next year at this time, and I'll have a better answer for you. Just because we'll know how many illegal grows we've taken down, and then how many legal grows we're actually able to take their product to market. So it'll be a better comparison.
It seems like it makes sense not to use the black market, because you have a loss of product. and so if you want to grow marijuana and sell it, you'd be better off being legal than black market.
You would think, but you got to remember that on the black market, they don't have to pay taxes.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right. Now, that goes back to the other thing you mentioned on taxes. The county is taxing these legal grows. Do we know? Let's say that the product sells for $1,000 a unit, and how much? What would be the tax on that?
Well, that's where the county changed. When we started in 2016, it was $2 a square foot canopy tax.
Right.
So let's say this table here is a half an acre.
Okay.
Okay, so at a half an acre, they're going to pay $2 a square foot. It's 22,000 square feet. That's $44,000 in tax every year.
Okay.
Okay. Now the county has changed that, or it got changed, and it went to by the pound, like you were just talking.
Right.
But we're not doing that anymore. It went back to the canopy tax, the square footage. So now they can grow an acre of marijuana. So that acre of marijuana is going to cost them $88,000 in tax.
Okay. How many plants in an acre?
Well, that depends on the grower. I've seen plants, and personally seen plants that were 15 feet tall and 8 to 10 feet wide.
Wow.
That will yield probably about 5 pounds. I saw one grow that was about a half an acre, and it had 75 plants that would probably yield almost 5 pounds. So do the math. That's a lot of pounds, and that's a lot of money on the market. See, now the market's been varying for them. Unfortunately, because I think there's a lot more marijuana out there now.
Right.
I know.
That's my thinking. As it gets cheaper and cheaper, then it would no longer make sense to be legal because you won't make a profit.
Well, and that's the catch-22 in all of this is you can't put the tax so high that the growers are going to say, the heck with it, we're just going to do it on the black market. They want to try and keep them on the legal side. And again, I think that's where by going to the square footage is going to benefit, again, the county, because we know how much we're going to get every year, but it's going to benefit the grower because they have a good yield that year, and they're going to get more product, so they'll be able to sell more. Because marijuana, and again, don't quote me on this because I'm not in the marijuana business,
right?
But it's running anywhere from, depending on where you're at, $500 a pound up to $5,000 a pound when they take it out of state. But now when you take it out of state, now you're back to the illegal side because you still cannot transport California marijuana out of state.
Oh boy, that is complicated.
It's quagmire. It very is much so, and I think, and I give the legal growers a lot of credit because they've invested a lot of their money to put these businesses together, and I hope that it is successful for them. It'll be successful if they work at it and they don't have criminal issues. Like remember back in 2015 we had a triple homicide.
And badges, you had people wearing badges.
Well, they're doing that now. Now they're wearing badges, but they're in a business that people are going to want to steal their product because now they don't have to grow it. They can just come and steal. They can come and steal my product and then take it down to the valley and sell it, and they're making money. And again, that's where the criminal element comes into it. It's still not a tomato growing business, so to speak. There's still going to be a lot of bad actors out there.
Speaking of greenhouses, that's what I do. I grow tomatoes.
Well, yeah, but you don't have people trying to come and steal your tomatoes.
No.
Where these folks have people come trying to steal their cannabis. That's the difference.
I got chickens, and they don't try to steal them either. Okay, well that's enough for cannabis, I guess. The next item is more controversial, and that's Black Lives Matter. That word, Black Lives Matter, gives an assumption that there's a large group of people that think that black lives do not matter. And that's why they say Black Lives Matter. They're trying to fight something that may or may not exist. In other words, there may not be systemic a major race problem in the United States. And that minorities can go according to their own motivation, rise as high as they want to. They could even be president.
Absolutely.
And only in America. So the term Black Lives Matter is in the words has an assumption that may not be true. I understand that the Black Lives Matter founders, there are 3 of them, were quoted as saying that it was based on Marxist principles, and they continue to follow Marxist strategy for bringing about structural and societal changes in America, and not only America but also the world. And so in some areas the Black Lives Matter movement did much more than just protests. They actually caused a lot of damage, and they hurt people, and they destroyed property. So you've had some experience with the Black Lives Matter movement in our county.
Well, very little. We had some folks that did a Black Lives Matter protest up in Angels Camp. I'm sure you're aware of that. And like I told them, they have a constitutional right to protest or demonstrate or whatever. They have that legal right to do that. So my job as the sheriff is to do what I did, and that is to protect them and to protect the community as a whole, so that we don't have the rioting and the looting and that type of stuff. So it was a good event. The folks that put it on did a good job. They adhered to what we asked them to, which was not block intersections.
Right.
So it actually went off without a hitch. So there was no problems. Again, we're a small community. I know there was a lot of controversy when they started to put this protest together. I know that my understanding was that the two young ladies that did it were threatened. They weren't, well, I won't get into what I thought or what we felt, but they went ahead with their protest, and we supported them. That's our job, again, as law enforcement. Angels Camp was there, CHP was there, we were there, and I brought in some folks from different counties just to make sure we had enough support, and again, it went off without a hitch. So
that's good.
It is. I mean, and we've had numerous protests down in Valley Springs. You know, they're small. We don't get the protests that they do down in the valley just because we just don't. You know,
the rights involved with this, I think, is the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech.
Correct.
And also, if there's property damage involved, then that involves the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendment to our Constitution, which respect the rights to life, liberty, and property. Mm-hmm. And so it seems like everything that you do is kind of supporting our Constitution.
Absolutely, and it goes back to that. They have the right to protest, so I'm there to protect their First Amendment rights.
Freedom of speech.
But then if they want to start doing damage, then it's my job to protect the other rights for the other folks. So, and again, that's where I say I'm in the middle. Yeah. I'm the bipartisan guy that has to take care of everybody because that's my job, and that's what we do.
Well, apparently you've done a good job.
Well, I appreciate that. We try hard. I have a great bunch of young men and young women that work at the sheriff's office right now that are very dedicated to this county.
That's good. And the more we learn about them, the better it is for our community.
Absolutely. My guys and gals are very involved in the community. They get out, they walk around. They're not afraid to connect with people, talk to them. You know, we have I started our school resource officer program. It's still going. The schools are kind of in, kind of out right now, but I have 2 school resource officers that are out there, so they're still trying to connect with those kids when they can, the ones that are in school. It's very important to me. You know, I was a school resource officer for almost 4 years, so it's very important that we show that connection to the kids and to the community. So our guys get out of their cars and meet with property owners and business owners. It's a small community. I tell everybody it's a large county, but it's a small community. It really is.
One of the projects that the Taxpayer Association is involved with is getting little Constitution booklets that are fun reading, and getting these out to young people, and especially the schools. And once a year, there's Constitution Week, and some years we had a contest with the kids, and our congressman presented an award to the winning composition. It was that was great, and maybe getting these Constitution booklets could tie in to your school resource officers if kids would want to have a copy of the Constitution, just an idea.
Absolutely.
We got 100 of them.
We're there to help.
All right, the next item is crime, which ties in again about their constitutional rights. You can't have crime without violating people's rights to life, liberty, or property.
That's true. Well, the crime in the county, and it kind of goes into our next little topic, is the COVID. Yeah. Because of COVID, our burglaries have gone down tremendously because people are home. A lot of people are now working from home, so you don't have those empty houses during the day, and people aren't commuting down to the Bay Area and staying in the Bay Area, so their homes aren't empty in the evening. So the property crimes have gone down considerably. Where we're seeing a little bit of an uptick is in domestic violence, because husbands, wives are home a little bit more often, and some people have lost their jobs, so they're either drinking or they just have more time on their hands. So
Right.
there's some things that have changed, but overall, and our crime rates out in this county are actually very low compared to the rest of the state. We're doing very well for the communities that we're involved in.
That's because we have one of the retired people come up here.
We do, and we're getting a lot of people from the Bay Area that come up. And in the wintertime, and this is kind of something for people to start thinking about too, because we're coming into winter, we've got a little bit of snow on the mountain. Now, I don't know if the ski slopes are going to be open this year, but I will say that we get a lot of people that come up from the valley. And so the people that are residing here need to make sure that they keep their homes locked up and secured. Get security cameras, get your alarm systems, make sure everything is working correctly. Because people do come from the valley, and the people that come up from the valley have nothing to lose. They come up to hang out for the weekend, and they'll go and they'll rob other homes. So it's be diligent about what's going on.
Right.
And the neighbors, watch your neighbors.
Right.
You know who goes by your house all the time because you know who your neighbors are.
Right.
When you start seeing those suspicious vehicles driving around or driving real slow, and you see the guy looking out the window, report that stuff. That's what we're there for. We're there to go and check those weird, out of the different, realm of things going on.
I'm also a realtor, and our office has these pens. They look like a regular pen, but actually they have a spray of pepper spray.
Pepper spray, yeah.
And I didn't want to test it because it wouldn't last very long. But I was thinking that maybe people can get information about those and other. There's key fob type sprayers too. Maybe they could get some information about that from the sheriff as to which are effective and which are not, and what are the rules with that.
Yeah, there are rules on pepper spray. You can only have so many ounces, which is actually quite small. They're kind of like a one-shot deal. You just spray somebody and run the other direction. They're there not so that you can apprehend the bad guy. They're there so that you can spray them and get out of the area, so that it incapacitates them.
Right.
But yeah, there are some rules, and that they can give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to talk to them. Neighborhood watch programs, which again, they're not really doing a lot of now because of COVID, but we have had some, and people can spread out that 6 foot of distance and they can absolutely give us a call, and we'll set that up for them.
You have volunteers. Yeah, how many do you have?
I think we're at 30 or 32 right now. We actually have quite a few volunteers.
Well,
so.
Yeah, we probably have a lot of retired people up here.
There are a lot of retired, a good portion, I won't say most all, a good portion of our volunteers are retired folks, and they're absolutely phenomenal. They do vacation house checks for us. They're extra eyes and ears. They drive around. They all have radios in the patrol cars that they drive.
Yeah.
They do a phenomenal job for us, and we couldn't do half of the things that we do when we have the Irish Days and the grape stomps and all those types of events. They're there for road control and crowd control. I just can't say anything but great things about them.
That's very good for the interface with the community and the sheriff's department too, because the more contact, the better.
Yeah.
On youth outreach, you have school officers. You have 2 school officers. One school's in session.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, we have 2. We have one that works the Calaveras Unified School District on this side of the county, and then the other one works on the other side of the county, works Copperopolis. Angels Camp has their own school resource officer, but we cover Copper, Mark Twain, Hazel Fisher, Avery Middle School, Vallecito. So he works the other side. They do work together a lot, depending on what's going on, and again, depending on when the school is actually in session.
Yeah.
But it's a good program. I know the guys will get out like I used to, and you go up to Avery Middle School, and during recess, play volleyball, or not volleyball, but tetherball with them. We've played baseball with them. Very interactive, and I want the officers to be that way. In fact, my officer that works in the Arnold area lives in Arnold, and he has kids that go to school up in Arnold. So it works out real well. It gives them that close interaction, and when kids see the deputies at the school, they don't get so nervous because maybe that deputy's there one day to play tetherball with them, and then the next day they're there because somebody's done something wrong. Right. They don't differentiate. They just know that, hey, cops here at school, that's kind of cool. So yeah. It works out real well.
Yeah, I think that, I remember when I was a kid, I always fantasized about being a law enforcement officer, and because I watched a lot of cowboy movies.
Yeah, it's a great job. We have an Explorer program, so kids that are either a freshman or 13 years of age can come to the sheriff's office. They fill out an application just like a big person, and it's a job application. They fill it out, and at the top they put Sheriff's Explorer on it. Yeah. And what they'll do is they'll go through a background, they'll go through an interview, a hiring. It's just like being hired for a cop. Yeah. It's the exact same process. And if they meet the criteria and they look like they're going to be a good fit, they become an Explorer. And then the Explorer program, they work with all the youth, and they'll do car stops with them. They'll teach them how to write a report. They'll do searches. Anything that we do as cops, those kids will do. So it's a good segue for them. I actually have one that is graduating this year that is going to come to work for me in the jail at 18. So he'll work for me in the jail for until he's 21. Actually, at 20 and a half, we can send him to the police academy. When he graduates the police academy, because it's 6 months long, he'll be 21. He can carry a gun.
That's the post training.
That's the post training, yeah. So basically, they start at the sheriff's office as a correctional officer at 18, right. And then at 21, they're a cop. So, that's cool. And we've had numerous deputies that work in our department that started as explorers and are now cops.
Well, boy, we just scratched the surface. What a fascinating job you have.
You asked me that if you have to be able to publicly speak and talk, and you know me, I like to talk.
Well, it's just a blessing for our community. And we want to thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert, and we'll see you next time.